everyday English podcast. Speak English fluently.
Hello everyone, welcome back to Speak English Fluently. I'm so happy you're here with us today.
Hey there! It's great to see you all again. I actually had a really interesting conversation this morning that made me think about today's topic.
Oh really? What happened?
I was talking with a friend about the weather, and it turned into this whole discussion about how strange the seasons have been lately.
That happens to me all the time. It's funny how let's talk about the weather can turn into something much bigger.
Exactly! And that's a perfect introduction to today's topic. We're going to talk about climate change in English.
This is such a useful topic because climate change comes up everywhere. In the news, at work, in casual conversations with friends. You need the vocabulary to talk about it naturally.
By the end of this episode, you'll be able to discuss climate change confidently. You'll know the key vocabulary, common expressions, and how to share your own opinions on the topic.
We'll also show you how native speakers actually talk about this subject, not just textbook phrases.
So here's a question for you. Do you already talk about climate change in your own language? Write in the comments and tell us what words you already know in English.
And if this is your first time here, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to Speak English Fluently. We upload new episodes to help you speak more naturally every week.
All right, let's get into it. Let's start with the basic vocabulary you need to talk about this topic.
When we talk about climate change, the most basic structure is subject plus verb plus object, just like any other topic. For example, the planet is warming.
Let's look at some key words. First, global warming. This means the Earth's temperature is slowly increasing over time.
Second, greenhouse gases. These are gases like carbon dioxide that trap heat in our atmosphere.
Third, carbon footprint. This means the amount of carbon dioxide a person or company produces.
Fourth, renewable energy. This is energy from sources like the sun or wind that don't run out.
And fifth, sustainability. This means living in a way that doesn't damage the environment for future generations.
Let me give you a personal example. I try to reduce my carbon footprint by walking instead of driving whenever I can.
That's a great habit. I do something similar. I switched to reusable bags for grocery shopping, and it's such a small change that makes a difference.
Here's a question for you, Maya. What's one thing you do to help the environment?
I recycle everything I can. Plastic, paper, glass. What about you?
I try to eat less meat because raising animals produces a lot of greenhouse gases.
Now let's talk about the negative forms. If you want to say someone isn't helping the environment, you can say, he doesn't recycle, or she isn't reducing her carbon footprint.
You can also say, they don't care about sustainability, which is a common way to criticize someone's habits.
Here's a practice question for you at home. Can you make a sentence using carbon footprint in the negative form? Pause the video and try it out loud.
Take your time, say it out loud, and don't worry about making mistakes. That's how you learn.
So to summarize this section, we learned 5 key words: global warming, greenhouse gases, carbon footprint, renewable energy, and sustainability. These are your foundation for talking about climate change.
Now let's move on to something a little more advanced. Let's talk about how to discuss causes and effects of climate change.
This is important because in real conversations, people don't just name problems. They explain why things happen and what happens as a result.
In real life, you might hear someone say, deforestation is causing rising temperatures, or rising sea levels are threatening coastal cities.
Let's break down the structure for talking about causes. We use phrases like is causing, leads to, and results in.
For example, burning fossil fuels leads to air pollution. Or deforestation results in the loss of habitats for animals.
Here's a dialogue example. Imagine two friends talking at a coffee shop.
Person A says, "Have you noticed how hot the summers have gotten?" Person B replies, "Yeah, scientists say it's because of rising carbon emissions."
That's such a natural, everyday conversation. It doesn't sound like a science lecture at all.
Now let's compare formal and informal usage. In a formal setting, like a presentation, you might say, "Human activity is a significant contributor to climate change."
But in an informal conversation with friends, you'd probably just say, "We're kind of messing up the planet, you know?"
Both are correct, but you choose the style depending on who you're talking to.
Let's do a quick practice activity. I'll give you a cause, and you try to say the effect. Ready? More factories are opening in the city.
That could lead to more air pollution and higher carbon emissions.
Great job! Here are 3 tips for talking about causes and effects naturally. First, use simple linking words like because, so, and that's why.
Second, don't be afraid to give your own opinion after explaining a cause. For example, "That's why I think we need more electric cars."
Third, use real examples from your own city or country. It makes the conversation more personal and interesting.
If you want more practice, write your own cause and effect sentence about climate change in the comments below. We'll try to reply to some of them.
Let's quickly review. We learned how to connect causes and effects using words like leads to, results in, and causes. We also compared formal and informal styles.
Now, for our third section, let's talk about how to express opinions and solutions related to climate change.
This is probably the most useful part because in daily conversations, people often want to know what you think, not just what you know.
A really common situation is when someone asks, "What do you think we should do about climate change?" You need natural ways to answer.
Here are some useful phrases. I believe we should invest in renewable energy. Or, in my opinion, governments need to take stronger action.
You can also say, "I think it's important that we all do our part," which sounds friendly and encouraging.
Let's talk about tone. When you're giving an opinion about something serious like climate change, you want to sound thoughtful, not aggressive.
Instead of saying, "People are so stupid for not recycling," you could say, "I think a lot of people just don't realize how much of a difference small habits can make."
That's such a good point. It's more polite and it actually encourages people to listen to you instead of getting defensive.
Let's look at a real-life practice situation. Imagine you're at a dinner with friends and someone says climate change isn't a big deal.
You could respond politely with, I understand where you're coming from, but I've read that the effects are already visible in a lot of places.
That's a great way to disagree without being rude. You acknowledge their opinion first, then share your own.
Now let's do a mini practice. I'll say a topic and you respond with your opinion using one of our phrases. Ready? Plastic bags should be banned.
I believe that's a good idea because plastic waste is one of the biggest problems for oceans and wildlife.
Perfect. Try saying your own opinion out loud right now, even if no one's listening. Speaking out loud really helps your fluency.
Let's review the structure one more time. Start with a phrase like, "I think," or "in my opinion," then give your reason using "because."
Now let's move on to a section we all know is important. Let's talk about common mistakes learners make with this topic.
Honestly, Maya, I made a lot of these mistakes myself when I was learning new vocabulary for serious topics like this.
Me too. I remember confusing weather and climate for the longest time.
That's actually our first common mistake. Many learners use weather and climate interchangeably, but they're different. Weather is short-term, like today's temperature. Climate is long-term, like the average conditions over many years.
So the incorrect sentence would be, the weather is changing, when talking about long-term patterns. The correct sentence is, the climate is changing.
Our second mistake is saying make pollution instead of cause pollution or create pollution. Make doesn't sound natural in this context.
So instead of factories make a lot of pollution, you should say, factories cause a lot of pollution.
Our third mistake is forgetting the word the before certain terms, like saying environment is important instead of the environment is important.
Small word, but it makes a big difference in how natural your English sounds.
And our fourth mistake is overusing the word very. Instead of very hot, native speakers often prefer words like extremely or unusually, especially in this topic.
So instead of, the weather is very hot this year, you could say, the weather has been unusually hot this year.
Here's a fun one. I once told someone, the earth is boiling, when I meant to say, the earth was warming. My friend looked so confused.
That's hilarious. Mistakes like that are so normal, and honestly, they help you remember the correct word forever.
Let's practice fixing mistakes. Try to correct this sentence. The weather is changing because of pollution, and it's very bad for animals.
You could say, the climate is changing because of pollution, and it's extremely harmful for animals.
I want you to remember that mistakes are a normal part of learning. Every fluent speaker made these same mistakes at some point.
So don't be afraid to try. The more you practice out loud, the faster these corrections become natural for you.
Now it's time for our interactive practice section. Let's do choose the correct sentence.
I'll give you two options, and you decide which one sounds more natural.
Situation 1. The weather has changed a lot over the last 50 years. Or, the climate has changed a lot over the last 50 years.
The second one is correct, because we're talking about long-term change, so we use climate.
Situation 2. Factories make pollution, or factories cause pollution.
Cause pollution sounds much more natural in English.
Situation 3. I think we should use less plastic, or I think we should use less plastic.
The second one, because should, is followed directly by the base verb, no to.
Situation 4. The environment is important, or environment is important.
The first one, because we need the article the before environment.
Situation 5. A little more advanced. Renewable energy is more sustainable than fossil fuel. Or, renewable energy is more sustainable than fossil fuels.
The second one, because fossil fuels is usually plural when talking about different types.
Great job if you got those right. Try saying each correct sentence out loud one more time to build that natural rhythm.
Now here's a challenge. Try creating your own sentence comparing climate and weather, and write it in the comments.
Remember, the goal isn't to be perfect. The goal is to communicate and keep practicing every single day.
Real conversations are messy, and that's completely okay. Fluency comes from trying, not from waiting until you're perfect.
Wow, we covered so much today. Let's do a quick summary of everything we learned.
We covered three main things. First, basic vocabulary like global warming, greenhouse gases, and carbon footprint.
Second, how to talk about causes and effects using words like leads to, results in, and causes.
And third, how to share your opinions and solutions using phrases like I believe and in my opinion.
You should be really proud of yourself for making it through this whole episode. This is a big topic, and you handled it well.
Here's a question to reflect on. What's one small change you could make in your own life to help the environment? Think about it and share your answer with us.
If you enjoyed this episode, please like this video, share it with a friend who's learning English, and leave a comment telling us your thoughts.
And of course, subscribe to Speak English Fluently so you never miss an episode. We have so many more topics coming your way.
Thank you so much for spending this time with us today. Keep practicing, keep speaking out loud, and don't be afraid of mistakes.
We're so proud of everyone in this community for showing up and learning every single day. See you next time!